the flower in the hair was an idea of Nike's. So the flower is the national flower of the Philippines. It's called the Sampaguita.
This is the moment Nike quietly decided Aryna Sabalenka was replaceable. Nike just replaced the new face of Asian tennis, and it was not the player with 4 Grand Slams who got the call. Alex Eala is in Rome right now. Today, Wednesday, May 6, 2026, Italian Open first round, world number 42. She has already climbed to number 39 in the live rankings this week. A brutal draw, potentially placing her against Elena Rybakina in round 3.
Eala, the phenomenon. We didn't know, largely, the tennis community a year ago before her run in Miami.
The French Open begins May 24th. Every single match from here matters enormously, but this story starts earlier, February 2026. Eala walked into Nike World Headquarters in Oregon. Her own portraits were already displayed in the building's tunnel. Nike did not announce it, they just did it. That is exactly how you replace someone without saying a word.
Alex Eala has just made it completely official with Nike, and the way this whole thing went down is sending shockwaves through the entire tennis world.
Aryna Sabalenka was defending her WTA #1 status through all of this. She had told fans just 3 months earlier that Nike had given her nothing custom for the entire 2026 season. She joked about it. Fans were furious for her. One reaction online cut straight to the bone. Treating the women's world. #1 like this is crazy. Sabalenka herself had every right to be furious. It gets worse from here. Subscribe right now, because the way Nike engineered this campaign shift is something nobody in tennis saw coming. The evidence is irrefutable. Here is exactly what Nike told Aryna Sabalenka, and what they did instead. November 2025, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The WTA finals had just wrapped up. Sabalenka had finished as runner-up, losing the championship match to Elena Rybakina. She had gone 63 wins and 12 across the entire 2025 season. 4 titles, WTA World #1 from the very first week to the very last. By any reasonable measure, it was one of the great individual seasons in women's tennis history. Then a reporter asked her what fans could expect from her Nike kits in 2026. Her answer went viral within hours. "Yeah, unfortunately, next season it's not going to be that special for me." She smiled when she said it. She was clearly uncomfortable. Then she turned to the camera and told her own fan base to start sending messages to Nike directly, to put some pressure on the brand. The WTA World #1, with 4 Grand Slams on her mantelpiece, publicly lobbying her own sponsor from a press conference podium because she had already seen what was coming. And it was not good enough. Fans reacted immediately. The outrage was not manufactured. One post summed it up perfectly. Aryna is the reigning US Open champion, finishing world #1 2 years in a row, and they don't have any customs for her next season? How? Another comment that cut even deeper. She will never be a Sharapova or Serena. They had customized kits for years. That one stung because it touched something real. Maria Sharapova had her own signature Nike line. Serena Williams had custom looks for virtually every match she played. Sabalenka, arguably the most dominant player on the tour right now, was being dressed off the general rack. The contrast with other Nike athletes made everything worse. Naomi Osaka, currently ranked world #16, is the only active women's tennis player with her own signature Nike apparel collection available globally. At the 2025 US Open, Osaka walked out in a custom red and black kit with rose motifs on her sneakers. Her 2025 kits ran a sakura theme, cherry blossoms in soft pinks and burgundy, celebrating her Japanese heritage. Meanwhile, Sabalenka was borrowing ideas from the general catalog and fighting to get individual pieces approved. The brand had given her the Everyone Watches Aryna t-shirt, a collaboration with Tugethxrr, which sold for $50. It was a fan product. It was not a signature line. Those are 2 very different things, and every serious tennis fan knows exactly which one matters. Here is the thing that makes all of this so significant. Nike has always made its priorities clear through actions rather than announcements. The brand does not issue press releases explaining who it considers a priority investment. It shows you. Custom kits, signature shoes, building-sized portraits, campaign placement, cultural collaborations, these are the signals. And when you line up all of those signals from the last 12 months, a very clear picture emerges. That picture has a 20-year-old Filipina at the center of it. Alex Eala's relationship with Nike did not begin with a blockbuster announcement. It began in 2019, when she was a teenager still working through the juniors. Nike signed her quietly. The way they tend to sign athletes, they are betting on over a long arc rather than cashing in on immediately. For years, the deal was functional. Kit sponsorship, tournament gear, the standard arrangement, nothing that would make headlines. Then came Wimbledon 2025, and everything changed. Eala had just made the most significant leap of her career. In the spring of that year, she had walked into the Miami Open as a wild card ranked number 140 in the world. She left having beaten Madison Keys, Jelena Ostapenko, and Iga Swiatek, the reigning world number 2, before falling to Jessica Pegula in the semifinals. It was a run nobody saw coming. By March 31, 2025, she had broken into the WTA Top 100 for the first time. By the time Wimbledon arrived, she was not just a rising prospect, she was a proven giant killer with a global audience that was growing every single week. Nike understood this. Before Eala walked onto center court for her first ever Wimbledon main draw match against defending champion Barbara Krejcikova, she received a package from the brand. Inside was a white box. Inside the box was a single hair tie shaped like a sampaguita blossom, the national flower of the Philippines. Wrapped around it was a handwritten note that read, "The sampaguita, delicate, radiant, resilient, is more than the Philippines' national flower. It is strength, it is belief, it is home, and today you carry it with you." Nike confirmed that the hair tie was created exclusively for Eala. It would not be made commercially available. It was not merchandise. It was a statement of intent from a brand that had clearly decided this athlete was worth investing in at a cultural level, not just a marketing level. Eala wore it onto center court. She lost the match in 3 sets, but won something far more significant in the wider picture. Nike had planted a flag. 1 month later, in August 2025, the brand released a limited edition shirt inspired by that hair tie. Manila-based artist Georgina Camus designed it. The shirt featured the sampaguita flower set against the grass courts of the All England Club. It was sold through a collaboration with Nike Philippines and unveiled on the cover of Vogue Philippines, with Eala photographed by Mark Nickdow in a shoot that combined sport, culture, and national identity in a way that very few Nike campaigns ever achieve. Her father was on set. He looked at his daughter wearing the finished look and said, "You know she likes what she's wearing. She's smiling." This was not a kit deal, this was identity building, and Nike does not spend this kind of creative energy on athletes they consider secondary. The Australian Open arrived in January 2026. Nike dropped a promotional campaign for the tournament featuring 3 of its biggest names: Carlos Alcaraz, Aryna Sabalenka, and Alex Eala. Alcaraz at that point had 6 Grand Slam titles. Sabalenka had 4. Eala had 0. She received the last billing in the ad, but she was in it. Alongside the 2 most dominant players on the planet, a 20-year-old from Quezon City was being used to sell Nike's most important 2 weeks of the tennis calendar. Sabalenka went on to reach the Australian Open final. She lost to Rybakina 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 in a match that came down to the final moments. Eala lost in the first round to American Alicia Parks 0-6, 6-3, 6-2. By results, it was not a great tournament for her, but in the Nike universe, she was already somewhere that results alone did not fully explain. Then came February 27, 2026. This is the moment that crystallized everything. Eala flew into the United States ahead of the Indian Wells Open. Before heading to California, she stopped at Nike World Headquarters near Beaverton, Oregon. She walked into the building. She was taken down the legendary tunnel, the hallway where portraits of Nike's most significant global ambassadors across all sports are displayed. The walls of that tunnel have seen some of the greatest athletes in the history of sport. Her own portraits were already there, multiple of them. One captured her iconic win over Iga Swiatek at the Miami Open. arms raised, the Filipina crowd erupting behind her. Another featured her selfie with Filipino fans, underscoring something Nike clearly understood: Eala does not just attract a crowd, she attracts an entire nation. Wherever she plays, stadiums fill with Filipino flags. Hotels in tournament cities book out with Filipino families who have traveled internationally to watch her. A third portrait carried the inscription, "History in full bloom." Eala posed in front of her own image, both hands on her face in disbelief. She posted it to Instagram stories. The image spread across every tennis media outlet in Southeast Asia within hours. GMA Sports, Philstar, Business World, Rappler all ran it. The caption from Nike Philippines required no elaboration: "History in full bloom." 3 months before this, Sabalenka had been asking fans to pressure Nike on Instagram for a custom kit. Now Eala's face was on the wall in Oregon alongside the immortals of global sport. There is a broader argument buried inside this story that goes beyond just Nike's treatment of two individual athletes. It is about where tennis is heading commercially and who the sport's biggest brands believe will drive the next decade of growth. Nike is not a sentimental company. Every decision the brand makes in sport is about where the market is moving, not where it has been, and the market signal coming out of Asian tennis right now is impossible to ignore. Eala draws packed stadiums in Oceania and the Middle East. Her match viewership numbers on social media exceed those of established top 10 players. Sky Sports presenter Gigi Salmon said it plainly in early 2026. In terms of her appeal, the crowds that follow her, she might already be the biggest star. Tennis analysts have started drawing comparisons to Li Na, the Chinese player who single-handedly opened the world's most populous nation to professional tennis in the early 2000s, and to Ons Jabeur, whose rise transformed the profile of the sport across North Africa and the Arab world. Eala is doing something similar, but potentially at a larger scale. The Philippines is a country of 115 million people with a young, digitally engaged population. Every time Eala wins a match, the social media traffic in that country responds the way it responds to a Manny Pacquiao knockout. Eala herself acknowledged this in Melbourne when asked about the comparison to Pacquiao, deflecting gracefully but not disputing the cultural resonance. Nike knows this. The brand that built its tennis identity around Agassi, Sampras, Federer, Nadal, Serena Williams, and Sharapova is now watching a generation shift happen in real time. The next wave of global tennis growth is not coming from Europe or North America. It is coming from Southeast Asia, and Nike has the only athlete in women's tennis who can be the authentic face of that shift. That athlete is not Aryna Sabalenka. This does not mean Sabalenka is being discarded. She is still one of Nike's most important tennis athletes globally. The brand built a campaign around her for the 2025 US Open. She headlined the Nike Shocks campaign. She has exclusive head-to-toe Nike gear covering every tournament she plays. Nike even dropped its first custom Sabalenka gear in May 2025, a shirt featuring her in a victorious pose, her torso merged with the face of a tiger, matching her nickname and her tattoo. It sold out fast. There is genuine investment in Sabalenka from Nike. The issue is what that investment looks like compared to what Osaka receives, and compared to what Eala is now receiving in cultural terms. The lack of a full custom kit line for the WTA World Number 1 remains a legitimate grievance. Tennis fans are right to be frustrated on Sabalenka's behalf. Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner both have Nike custom logos on the men's side. The brand has historically underinvested in its female tennis athletes relative to male ones, and Sabalenka is not the first to feel that gap. But the Eala situation is not the cause of that problem. It is a parallel development, Nike expanding its investment in Asian tennis while simultaneously failing to deliver adequately for its biggest star in the women's game. Back to Rome. Today, Alex Eala is warming up at Foro Italico right now, preparing for her first-round match against Magdalena Frech. She has a 16-11 win-loss record for 2026 and has earned $565,609 in prize money this season. Her clay form has been patchy. First-round exit in Stuttgart, second round in Linz, second round in Madrid. This Italian Open is a critical reset before The French Open begins on May 24th, a potential third-round clash with Aryna Sabalenka, the same player who beat Sabalenka in both the 2025 WTA Finals and the 2026 Australian Open Final, is already being discussed. If Eala gets through Frech and Wang Xiyu, she would face the Australian Open champion on clay in Rome, with Roland Garros 12 days away. Eala turns 21 on May 23rd. The French Open starts the next day. She goes in as the highest-ranked Filipino in the history of the WTA, carrying a Nike legacy that is still being written, heading into the tournament where, just 1 year ago, she made her Grand Slam main draw debut and lost in the first round. The trajectory from that moment to standing with her portrait on the wall at Nike headquarters took less than 12 months. Aryna Sabalenka will be in Rome this week too. She is seeded to potentially meet Eala deep in the draw if both advance that far. That match, if it happens, would carry a storyline that writes itself. The WTA world number one, who asked fans to pressure Nike for a custom kit, against the 20-year-old who already has her face on the wall at Nike headquarters. Nike did not hold a ceremony when they made their choice. They never do. They just put Eala's portrait in the tunnel and let the walls speak. If this story hit different for you, if you feel like the tennis world is not talking enough about what is actually happening here, then subscribe right now. Hit the bell. Every video we drop goes deeper than the headlines, and the conversation we are building on this channel is one you do not want to miss. The French Open is coming, the biggest stage in clay court tennis. And the most compelling story walking into Roland Garros is wearing a Sampaguita on her wrist and has her face on a wall in Oregon. We will be covering every single moment. Subscribe, and we will see you at Roland Garros.